Rick, the Forward Party also advocates for ranked choice voting.
Yes.
Which is a very important voting reform that would allow more moderate third-party candidates to succeed. Can you talk about how it works and why we should adopt it?
Sure. Under under the current system, you get to vote for one candidate, period.
Yeah.
Under ranked choice voting, it is exactly what the name says. You get to rank your preference of candidates. So say there are 3 candidates on the ballot, you get to rank them. I like this one first, I like this one second, I like this one third. The way it works is, again, in that 3 candidate scenario, if nobody, and 3 candidates elect 1 person, if nobody gets a majority of those first place votes in the first round, then the candidate who got the least number of first place votes is eliminated from the ballot, and the second place votes for that candidate are then allocated to the remaining 2.
So no one's vote gets wasted. Everyone's ballot counts.
Everyone's ballot counts, and nobody's vote gets wasted. And you're able to. You're able to express, I'd like this person, but if I can't get that person, then I will take this person as well. You get to express a relative preference. And if your first candidate, your first choice gets eliminated, your second place choice, that vote still actually counts towards determining the ultimate winner. And it allows for third party or independent candidates to get traction, to get support, to have support expressed for them, and it allows the voters to actually to express a range of support for different, rather than having to pick one, which quite often in this case, in the current system, many of the voters feel is a choice between the lesser of 2 evils, right? Somebody that's been presented to the general electorate through the very partisan primaries of both parties.
Mm-hmm. We saw that in 2019, Gavin Newsom vetoed the RCV bill in California, and I think similar thing happened in Texas, right? So what are the chances that RCV bill could be passed here in Texas?
There's a couple of RCV bills pending in the legislature right now. There's a couple of citizen redistricting commission bills pending in the legislature right now. Their hope of passage, they won't see the light of day coming out of committee.
That's why we need the Forward Party.
That's why we need the Forward Party.
Well, and the way we'll get to ranked choice voting is it's not going to happen in Texas first.
Correct.
It has to happen in a number of other states, right. New Hampshire, small states,
yep,
that have a tradition of caring about these issues. So a state, again, like New Hampshire is a great place to think about. Utah, perhaps, actually, strangely enough, right? And there are these curious locations where you can imagine a number of people really wanting this system. And Evan McMullin, who I know has been involved with these issues, has been pushing for this as well in Utah and elsewhere. And what that would do is create a model that others in other states would look at. See, the problem right now with ranked choice voting is it's something we've never done.
Right.
So now we have a historical example of something for which there's no history
in
the United States. And there are very few examples internationally, and the ones that exist Americans don't know about because they don't pay attention to other societies. Right. And so what we need is a model of how it works. So what we're seeing in New York City is crucial, right? The New York City mayor's race was a ranked choice vote. And there were some problems in calculating and tabulating the vote. But how Eric Adams does, and then what happens in the next time, and the next time, hopefully that becomes a positive model for other cities. And then you could imagine this being adopted the same way primaries were. Primaries were first created in the Republican Party in the early 20th century and then copied in other states and copied by other parties. So what we need here is success and then mimicry, and people sitting in Texas eventually saying, because I think Texas will be a late adopter,
for sure,
saying, look at this in these other states. They get better candidates and their votes aren't wasted.
Yeah.
Why are we still acting like cavemen and cave women? Let's get on board. The two big advantages I just want to underline that Rick brought up that I think people don't understand. Ranked choice voting means that if there is someone who 35% of the public really likes, like Ted Cruz, and 65% really hates,
yeah,
that person doesn't get elected.
Yeah.
And what you end up with is what most organizations do. You find a candidate who can build consensus. So the person who wants to be CEO might have a faction that really support them. That's not a good CEO. The CEO is the person who everyone feels some connection to, even if it's not their first choice. So you could get a second choice that 70% like. They don't all think that person, that woman, should be the number one choice, but they all see value that she has. And that person under the ranked choice system is number two and ends up with the most votes and therefore becomes a candidate. And again, if we follow the model of the business community, that person ends up being a much better CEO. It definitely helps women and minorities. It provides more openings, more opportunities, and provides more of an opportunity for smaller communities to have a say. And then the other thing I would say is it gets us out of this system of having primaries where only a small number of people participate and runoffs.
Yeah.
We just had a runoff in Austin for the mayor's election.
Yeah.
And I think, 12%, 15% of Austinites in Austin, Texas voted.
Wow, that's crazy.
And so it makes everything focus on one election, and you can bring everyone out in that one election, and everyone's vote counts. It makes so much sense.
And by the way, the millions of tax dollars that supported that election, that runoff election, where 15% of the population turned out to actually vote, is just almost wasted, right? And you could eliminate that with ranked choice voting.